Wednesday at 90.3 FM, and since it is Wednesday, that means it's Joe Steckler Day. Joe Steckler here every Wednesday from 12 noon to 1 o'clock with Helping Seniors of Brevard. And good afternoon, Joe.
Good afternoon, John, and I want to make a special plea to our listeners today. The phone number here at WEJF is 722-9998, 722-9998. And the reason I want to talk about this before I even introduce my guest today and before I even talk about sponsors, before I do anything. You know, this is a Christian radio network. There are a lot of people that listen to this network that study the Bible, that are Christians. They're of all faiths. They believe in both the Old and the New Testament. And if you are a Christian or you believe in God, then we might start thinking about how we can do a better job of working together to make 90.3 FM WEJF a station that's a home plate. Like we get all the batters to come to this station to listen to what's happening on the Elder News Network in Brevard County. You know, it doesn't make it does make a lot of difference. I was going to say, I don't care how many people listen to the station, but if those that do listen do a better job of helping us encourage other people to listen to this radio station so that it becomes an information network for seniors, and you seniors and those that care for seniors, or those of you that even like seniors, start thinking about what is needed to do a better job of taking care of seniors. Now, a lot of seniors don't need help. Many do. Most people have no idea of the problems that plague seniors unless you are directly involved in a care network that takes care of people that don't have the funding they need to grow old and age with dignity. And this is extremely important in our society, and it's become more important with some of the statistics that are being made available now. And Kerry, Fink, who is the director of TYG Media and our media director for Helping Seniors, is my panelist today. And Kerry and I talk about this a lot, and today we decided to do a special show because I would normally have Bill Johnson on, and Bill is in Washington, D.C., and he forgot to let me know that he wasn't going to be back. So I called Kerry last night and said, what can we really talk about that will help people? And he mentioned what we're going to talk about today. So this is Kerry's idea, and we're going to talk about it. But it is important that all of us do a better job of saying we can be part of a network that supports people that are in many ways forgotten. And it's important that we do not forget people. Kerry, having what I've just said, you believe just like I do in faith, the Bible, what the good Lord teaches, and the fact that this is a Christian radio station, I think we need to capitalize on that.
I absolutely agree. It's so important. In fact, in church on Sunday, they're talking about the story of the Good Samaritan, and even regardless of your faith, I think everybody gets that story. They understand that you are in this world your brother's keeper. And so if you remember, there was this really intelligent lawyer who's trying to get, all the facts laid out and get it squared away. So he asks Jesus, and he says, he says, well, who is my brother? And he's trying to, figure out who he can include and who he can exclude. And if you remember, the answer is basically it all ties back to the golden rule: treat others as you would treat yourself. And so, as you were giving the introduction to the show, I was thinking
preamble. You mean
the preamble?
The preamble.
I was thinking about this from the standpoint that it's easy when it's a family member because you have to get involved. It's somebody that's in your family.
No, you're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Go for it.
Because I get calls from family members or from people all the time. And I ask them a question. I said, "You have children?" "Yes," but they can't help me.
Yeah. Well, there is that challenge because there's a lot of dysfunction in families too. But the question goes even broader. The question is what happens when it's somebody you don't know and you're just generically caring for them. And obviously, we've talked about this many times on the show. We have a compassion for kids in our area. I mean, we're willing to raise a 0.5-cent sales tax. We're willing to try to do everything we can think about to make sure that children who are considered vulnerable by the state of Florida, we do everything we can to think about ways to help them. But the state of Florida also, by definition, counts anybody. It's not actually just the state of Florida. It's the United States government says if you're over 62, that you are prima facie a person that is potentially a vulnerable adult. You don't have to show income issues or anything. It's just the fact that you're over 62. And yet, do we actually take the time? We certainly do as Helping Seniors, and there are some other organizations do as well. But in general, that's why we have to keep beating the drum about this to get people to think about it in those terms.
And not just think about it, Kerry, to know about it.
Right.
No. We keep saying that Helping Seniors, the purpose of the show, of the organization, is to inform, educate, and connect people with senior services.
Mm-hmm.
And Evans, if people don't know that seniors are not getting the kind of help that they need, it's criminal. It really is. And I hear folks, I've been on the phones for the Helping Seniors Education Specialist job since last late fall and really early November. And the calls that I have received in many cases are heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
When you get, let's say, a 82-year-old woman who has planned and set aside money, has a decent income, went to live in a elder living community at an affordable price. And now here she is on a fixed income with a certain amount of assets. And she calls me and talks to me and she says, "I'm worried, Joe, about outliving my resources." And this is a very real thing for seniors that haven't done a lot of planning. They go into a place to live and they say they're going to charge them $3,200 a month. And then they tell them after they've been in there 2 years, they're going to be raising the rent price $100 a year. Well, when you're living so close to the margin that it takes 97 or 96% of your monthly income just to pay the cost of living. Of course, that includes food and everything else. But you still have other bills to pay.
Sure you do.
You do. I don't care what people say. However, for everyone that wants to pay bills and do that, I can probably name an equal number that they would like to pay the cost of the bills cannot.
Yeah.
Because they simply don't have the money.
Yeah.
Now, you and I have had so many calls about people asking us about affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? What does affordable housing mean? Does it mean $900 a month for rent? $1,000? I can remember when I graduated from the Naval Academy back in 1958, an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment furnished, was $87 a month.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that now.
Right.
And that's just something we think about. So what do we do?
Well, it's interesting because I think you were telling me a statistic that Bill Johnson had shared with you about the percentage of seniors now having to rent instead of having a place that they could call their own. And, of course, when you're a rentor, one of the challenges you have is you're not in control of the pricing each time your lease comes up or your arrangement comes up for renewal or review. You're just sort of stuck with whatever is handed to you, or your option is to try to figure out a different way. And so we were just talking before we went on the air about the call that you had, I think a few weeks back, from a lady in Chicago who was contemplating moving to Florida. And her question was, well, how do I get all the vouchers and things so I can get help with rent down here? And you're waving her off saying, no, it doesn't work that way down here. We're not set up for that.
No, she had an income of $750 a month, and she was going to move from Chicago down here. Of course, she had to pay the moving cost.
Yep.
She had to get her stuff down here. And I said, ma'am, to get on a low-income or affordable housing waiting list where the government, where they're going to charge you 30% of your income, where they would charge her 30% of her
Right.
$750. I said, it could be 2 years.
Right.
I said, you come down here and you're going to be homeless.
Right.
There's just no place to put somebody like that. And when you just mentioned the fact that about the renters, sometimes we quote statistics on this radio show, folks, but I give you my word that we can back up those statistics. And I this morning, Bill Johnson, the elder law attorney, faxed me the new National Association of Elder Law Attorney monthly newsletter, and one of the statements in there, and Kerry talked about, but he didn't give you the really appalling news, was the fact that in the last decade, the National Realty Association has put together statistics that show that 43% of those over the age of 60 have started renting. 43% have started renting. And somebody asked, I keep getting calls about affordable housing, Kerry, and I start looking at the list and the cost of affordable housing, and the people put the list together think that $900 or $1,000 a month is reasonable.
Yeah, we know how many calls you get every month from people trying to make it on a $700 Social Security check, which means you got to pay for some place to be, you got to pay for your food, and you got to try to pay for your medicine out of all that.
Yeah, it's just it's almost impossible to live in the very, very few places that will take people, especially men, have so many strict rules that a man that's lived as long as they have and they're sort of tough, they don't want to commit to church regulated living conditions, and I can understand that. A person wants to be free as much as possible.
Sure.
So it really bothers me. Another thing that bothers me, and this is something that more of people in Brevard County should start thinking about, is this Agent Orange business.
Sure.
Agent Orange is a big thing that started in Vietnam, and we had many, many thousands of men and women that were affected by Agent Orange, and over the ensuing decades, we sort of paid lip service to it, and we have found out now that it is a prime cause of cancer and other inner body diseases that are killers.
Yeah.
And I just found out this morning that a good friend of mine, John Banks, had passed away, and John is well known in the area, and he had been the president of Wachovia Bank here, and John and his wife Connie were very much involved in the community. They drove Meals on Wheels to people for years. And John was on my radio show for a number of years, a great person. He had been a lieutenant and a captain in the Marine Corps I want to say Marine Corps, might have been Army, in Vietnam. but I read the words Agent Orange in his obituary.
That's so
and
tough.
so I didn't know that, but there are so many new studies, and I got a guy named Peter Brooks down in Palm Bay. When he sees stuff on the internet, he sends me a lot of stuff he thinks will pertain to seniors. And so he sent me some recent studies on Agent Orange, and it shows that the government is taking more interest in now, and those men and women that were afflicted with Agent Orange, and now they're putting this out into ships that were involved in shore bombardment and were closer to being close to the shoreline in the Tonkin Gulf. And so you just never know how some of these things are going to affect people. What is important is that the general public know about this.
Right.
It's not going to get published in Florida today. No. And there's just no other newspaper or way to make this stuff known here. I have a column in Hometown News. I can write about it every other week. But I just can't write on Agent Orange by itself. Right.
Well, there are so many issues that affect seniors. In fact, going back to it, I remember, you founded the Alzheimer's Association Foundation many years ago. But I remember when you set out to start helping seniors at Brevard, you said, that in your experience, there are so many other issues beyond simply the issue of memory care that are affecting seniors. You wanted to see a broader opportunity to help seniors in our area, and that covers everything from the issues that veterans face to the issues that widows face to the housing crisis to getting quality medical care to making sure that your financial plans are organized. All these things are part of helping seniors.
Yeah, I had a recent phone call from this one lady that was afraid she was going to outlive her resources. For years, she and her husband had paid into long-term care. After paying into it for over 20 years, just when she was most likely to have a need to use it, she had to drop it.
Oh, no.
After paying all that money into long-term care, her company profited by it. She got nothing out of it, and because she can't afford to pay for it now.
Oh my goodness!
So we just don't see the things that are happening, and then for you and me to be talking about this stuff on this radio station, and for people that listen to it to say, I really wonder how much Joe and Kerry are telling the truth. Or how much does this really mean to us in Brevard County? But I can tell you, Kerry, if our federal or if our local government decides to, and they made a decision to eliminate all funding for nonprofit organizations, and the nonprofit organizations are certainly about the only organizations that are going to try and delve into this stuff and try to make this information available. Can you name a church that does this?
Well, no, and it's something that our pastor has said before. He said, look, on a good day, people tithe. On a good day, that means we get 10% of somebody's money. That doesn't give us a lot to be able to do, significant projects to the tune. But if you look at what the government takes out of people's checks, in 20 and 30 and 40%, and if you listen to some of them, it should be 90%, then that's where the money exists to be able to do this. And the thing that we always talk about as nonprofits when we're talking about having the ability to have some access to government funds is the multiplicative effect. There's things like the Meals on Wheels program and things like that result they look for matching funds. The more funds that they have available locally, then they're able to get more federal dollars and so on and so forth. So there's a whole multiplicative effect. So when your county cuts out the money that goes and is available to these nonprofits, a lot of times it's not a one-for-one cut. It ends up being a multiplicative cut of that.
Exactly right. And the another statistic that, people will call us and say, Joe, can you tell me a good assisted living facility to go to or a good nursing home? Think about this next comment I'm going to make. One of the things I got out of the National Association of Elder Law Attorney Network was the fact over the last decade, over 440,000 nursing homes in the, not 440,000, 440 nursing homes in the United States have either closed or merged with another organization. It means that they can't pay their bills for what they're charging because through a combination of how the government subsists and underwrites these programs, when you start looking at the funds, you make a decision. It's not simple.
No.
The issues are so complex because, they lay so many rules on these nursing homes about how much they can charge, how many beds you have to make available for government Medicaid-funded housing, and when you force a company to have to exist where they're losing money,
Right.
they can't stay in business.
Right.
Now, on the other hand, if you get a guy like Bernie Sanders elected who wants to give you everything in the world, he'd love all this. We convince our younger people that, we need free education. We need free medicine. We need free housing. We need free everything. Nothing is free.
Right.
It's got to be paid for somehow.
Yeah, it's really just a question of what you think is a better distribution mechanism. Do you think the business model works, or do you think that government is efficient at handing out funds? I'm not sure that I would agree that government is always efficient at handing out funds. So
I bet you would find about 95% of the people listening to this radio show right now would agree with you, Kerry.
Well, I think about how much good helping seniors is able to do, and half of the time it's simply that we're helping somebody navigate that process of how to get access to government funds. It's anybody who's ever dealt with anything on a governmental level knows how. I've heard you and Bill Johnson talk about how tricky those VA benefits forms are now, and you really have to have expert help to get. Even if a program exists, if you don't have the right help to get it, you might still be in trouble.
Yeah. As I think about it, I got the lady's age wrong, and her age was 85. I know the amount of money she told me she had in her assets in the bank. And we had a frank talk, and this is some of the things that I always tell people when they call me. I said, you're asking me for my opinion. I can tell you what my opinion is or what my thoughts are, but you need to bounce them against somebody else. But I told this lady, I said, I really don't think you should worry about outliving your assets based on the amount of money that you have in the bank, the amount of money that bank will generate, those assets will generate in income for you, with the amount of money that you're taking out each month, you'll have at least enough money to live 9 or 10 years, and you're 85 now. And I said, and she was laughing, and I said, if you live to be 95, you might end up being in a nursing home, and by the time you'd be so poor they'd have to take care of you, so you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
And she started laughing.
It's good that you were able to offer some hope and some help to her.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is. And I asked her, I said, do you have children, have family? Oh, yeah, but they can't help me. And this is a thing that really, really gets me at times because, our mothers and our fathers raise us. Yeah, not all of them are perfect, but to close your thinking on helping them with maybe 100. If you got 3 children and you get $300 a month, 100 apiece from you for a year, $1,200 a year, might make the difference in whether or not your mom and dad or singly live in a place and have a decent life and not have to worry about something, and you're not willing to give up a little bit. And Kerry, believe it or not, I get that all the time because there is so much selfishness in this world. It's really hard. And folks, this is one of the reasons why I say that you can call us here at 722-9998 and express your opinion about what we're saying and why it's important that that you listen to this station and tell others about it, and we start getting people to make this the senior station for Brevard County. That if somebody says to you, well, where can I go to find out about this? You can honestly tell them to listen to 90.3 WEJF on Wednesday at noon and listen to Joe and his panelists, because I give you my word, I'm not going to tell you something I can't show you and prove in black and white that it exists, or the statement is wired up where I'm not telling you a story.
Right. No,
well, I'm going to tell you a story, but it's not a fib.
Well, 2,200 families plus, have been helped by the work of helping seniors of Brevard. And again, it's a small organization, but it's effective at doing what it does because it's able to connect people to resources that help them. And sometimes that's half the battle.
Well, and another thing, too, is I would like for our listeners to know that many of the phone calls are repetitive type things. I get calls from somebody, and I'll call back 2 or 3 weeks or later, or 2 or 3 months later, and say, I talked to you about this several months ago, Joe, and here's what's happened in the meantime. Or it takes us 4, 5, 6, or 7 phone calls to other organizations to help people get assets to bear. And with that thought, we're going to take our mid-show break, folks, and do stay with us at 90.3 FM for the second half of the show, because on the second half of the show, we'll go to what we were going to talk about. Okay, stay with us.
90.3 FM, it's Wednesday afternoon, helping seniors of Brevard with Joe Steckler. And once again, with the second half of our show, here's your host, Joe Steckler.
Thank you, John. And welcome back to the second half of Helping Seniors, folks. Helping Seniors is formed to inform, educate, and help connect seniors and those that care for seniors with resources they need to take care of themselves. We were founded in 2011. We've struggled, we've worked, we've always maintained a balance sheet that said that we were paying our bills. It's not been easy, and many nonprofits are in the same position that we are. But one of the big things that nonprofits do to get to pay their bills is they get sponsors. In our case, we've got some wonderful sponsors. I just mentioned a few of them. I can't get all of them, and I'll give you a source to go to get to all of our sponsors. But the Eye Institute has been with us from day one. So has Dr. Lee Sheldon. Bill Johnson has been with us since day one, and so has Vitas Hospice. But in order to get a complete listing of our sponsors and see all those, and almost, I'd say 95% of these people are in the senior care business, and they know how to help you if you want to call them. Go to our website, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. I'll say it again. It's all one word, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Take a look at our website, see what's on that thing. Look at our sponsors, look at all the radio shows, the TV shows, the newspaper columns, everything we've got backlogged on there. And if we can't answer your question or get you help there, then all you need to do is call the phone number, 321-473-7770, and right now you're going to get me, and I'll try to help you. But I have to tell you, we are starting to get resumes in for people that we're looking at to be our education specialist. I think I just learned this morning, got about something like 15 resumes in already.
Good. And
we'll be taking a look at somebody. But I assure you, whoever we get is going to be somebody that's going to work, to learn, to do the job, and be a caring person that will want to help people. So what we'd like to do in the second part of the show is talk about how nonprofits are funded and why it's so important for businesses to be involved. So let's talk. I'll turn it over to Kerry for a minute, because she'll talk about how what one of our big things is that we do, and how we need your help. and Kerry will tell you how you can help us. Go ahead, Kerry.
You know, we often hear the statement, you know, doesn't the government fund the work of nonprofits? You know, I pay my taxes. Why do I need to give to nonprofits on top of that? And we spent the first half of the show really talking about some of the challenges with that. So for an organization like Helping Seniors, we can't do what we do without the help of individuals who do care about the mission of helping seniors, and without the businesses do. So first I want to talk a little bit about how individuals get involved. And there are a significant number of individuals who have supported the work over the years of helping seniors and continue to do so. And a lot of times they're doing it simply through charitable giving. They make I know that I've heard people call up and say, you know, I want to make some sort of an arrangement in my finances so that in my final disposition of things, there's something for seniors and things like that. So, but there's people who get involved. We have things people can donate online. They can go to the website, helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. There's always an opportunity to just simply make a donation. People can call the Senior Information Helpline at 321-473-7770 and make a donation. But one of the things we do, we're very fortunate. You've had a great relationship over the years with AJ Hires, who everybody knows is a top car dealer in our area of Boniface Hires Automotive. I mean, my goodness, he's got one of everything. He's got a Dodge store, a Mazda store, Chevrolet store. It just, the list, the Kia, you know, it just goes on and on. And he's always, you and he have always worked together to put together an opportunity. And this year is a fantastic opportunity, and it's one of the backbones of fundraising for helping seniors, so we can meet the need that we have for 2019 and 2020. And what that is that we are, as Helping Seniors, having the great Helping Seniors car raffle. And this year, you guys have worked out to have 3 amazing, beautiful 2019 vehicles available, and the winner gets to select the one they want. So it's a 2019 Mazda Miata convertible, just a beautiful car. I actually got to drive it to the event on Saturday, and it was hard for me to turn the keys back in, but you have to do what you have to do. There's also a Dodge Challenger, a 2019. That's if you got the muscle car bug and you want a really neat car. There's that. And if you want something that's just a great all-around vehicle, there's a 2019 Dodge truck.
And that's big enough to run over everybody, too.
Well, you could probably, yeah, I'm sure.
It's a big truck.
So I'm telling you, every time these cars get out in public, people are so excited about seeing them. And it reminds them not only is it good to support the work of helping seniors, but they might actually get a car for $25 at the end of the day, because the grand drawing is held April 27th. Once again, because of your relationship with Mark Pylock, the owner of that fascinating and amazing museum that you otherwise can't get into, the American Muscle Car Museum, we're going to have that big grand drawing event there, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, April 27th. The cars are going to be there. The people are going to be there. There's wine and hors d'oeuvres there. It's just going to be a marvelous night. And your $25 ticket gives you a shot at helping seniors, gives you a shot at winning that car, and gains you admission into that event. It's what a deal.
Well, it is a good deal, Kerry, and we have a lot of fun doing it. I could tell you story upon story over the last 29 years that I've been involved in fundraising here in Brevard County with different things we've done. I've watched people work very, very hard to help us pay bills and provide these services to people. While we call these organizations nonprofits, folks, they're not. That doesn't mean that we don't have to pay people to work. I don't take any money for it, but because this is what I want to do. I'm retired, but people who are still work for us, and we have to pay them. And I can tell you that most nonprofits don't pay a whole heck of a lot, and sometimes it comes close to being just a decent living wage. But we do the best we can. We provide the best we can to those who work for us. But the amount of service we try to give out to people is something that that helps people live a decent life. Mm-hmm. We've talked about a good friend of mine, John Banks, dying and Agent Orange being one of the contributing factors. And here we have a wonderful veterans organization out in Vieira. Our veterans clinic is one of the very best in the state of Florida. We have people that come from Orlando, DeLand, and way down below Port St. Lucie, come to this veterans organization here because it is a good organization. Their ear department is great. They have a dental facility, and that's one of the things I have to find out about are the exact governing rules for veterans receiving dental care, because I don't know the answer to that. When I had a call with a vet from World War II that had 3 teeth left, I decided to try to see what we could do to get that man treated at the VA facility. And so I'm still trying to find out the results of what our effort was there. But what I'm saying is that, like you, organizations that do help people are always learning.
Yes.
And while I've been doing this for 29 years, I always learn, and I always find that there are things that I don't know that are quite beneficiary to other people. I can remember sitting at a Naval Academy luncheon and having a gentleman sit sort of an angled triangle across from me, and I noticed he was having just as hard a time, if not harder, than me hearing. Mm-hmm. And I asked him, I said, "You haven't told your hearing aids?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "They're not very good." I said, "Are you getting them out to VA?" He said, "What do you mean get them out to VA?" I said, "Don't you know about getting hearing aids to VA?" He said, "No, I didn't know about it." I couldn't believe this guy. He was a vet, and I couldn't believe that he didn't know that hearing aids were available to him.
Yeah.
But if you're a vet and you're not signed up, you can call the Veterans Service Office at and the Bureau of Government offices, and their phone number, folks, is 633-2012. 633-2012. If you're a vet and you got a problem, call them and tell them what the problem is, and ask them just directly, is there any kind of help that I can get through the VA? They've got a staff out there that, the VA, like any other military organization, is going to tell you as much as they think they have to tell you to do their job. But a lot of times the caller has a problem that maybe the Veterans Association people don't think so much about it. Maybe they've forgotten about it, and so they don't put it on their publication list. Right. And until you make that phone call and ask them, they don't know about it. Now, not everybody can be helped.
Right.
But the chances are you might get help if you make a call.
Yes.
But if you don't make a call, you are never going to find out if you're going to get help or not.
I'm amazed how often that we get calls on the Senior Information Helpline that are really reasonably easy to resolve because the person is simply not aware that there is a resource that could be available to them. And that happens quite often. It's said people perish for the lack of knowledge. And a lot of times, there is a program, but you have to know where to go and find it. And that's one of the benefits of an organization like Helping Seniors, because that's what we exist to do, is try to connect people to resources that's going to help them in their aging plan.
Yeah. And one of the phone calls I get a lot, Kerry, are people calling us to find out if we can pay for something. That's the tough one, because, we don't have access to funds to do anything like that. But sometimes when people call us, we do know where there are organizations that will help with 1, 2, or 3 payment times for a service. Water service is one, electricity is one, and there are a couple of others. But electricity is a prime one. There is a source in Brevard County that will pay a one-time electrical charge to make sure that, like if a person has got a COPD or they got different pieces of medical equipment they're using, you got to keep them alive. We just don't want to turn the electricity off on those people. So there are ways to make those things happen, but then they're not permanent payments. We got to figure out a way. It's a short-term help.
Right.
And so many people think that, oh, geez, I just don't have a way to get that funded, but I'll call and get help, and they'll help me ad infinitum. And that's not true. And people have to realize that. And it's a hard thing. It's a real hard thing to tell somebody you can sense that they want help and they need help, but you can't help them. One of the things that we have the hardest time finding a way to pay for is dental help.
Yeah.
People will call and say that we had this done to so-and-so, and now where are we going to go get the money to pay for it? I said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We don't work that way. It's just not. If you've had something done, you got it, you got the bill. But there are things that we can help people keep themselves out of trouble a lot if they make the phone call. But that's an important thing.
Well, and it's also one of the reasons why it's so important to get behind the work of helping seniors, because one of the most valuable things I think helping seniors does is make a lot of noise in the marketplace between the articles that you publish in Hometown News and Aldea Today and Ebony News Today and some of the other publications, Senior Scene Magazine. You're always advocating for seniors, and half of it is, that old expression, out of sight, out of mind. And people don't really think of this as a challenge on the level that you do. And one of the things I was going to comment too, as we were talking about the fundraising aspect of all this, is that's one of the reasons why I think helping seniors of Brevard is able to be effective, is because we have so many business sponsors who are like-minded, who end up, not only do they provide financial resources and help keep the organization going, but they also become part of this business network where they become a good go-to resource in terms of questions that come up as somebody calls in and they need, maybe it's a piece of legal advice. We have expert attorneys who know everything about, how many times you get a call, somebody's in a financial distress mode, and they can have a talk, for example, with Ruth Rhodes, who's an attorney that she's really an expert in those kind of areas.
Bankruptcy, especially. Right. That's something that I have had not only Ruth, but some other real estate type people talk about bankruptcy is not a disgrace. Bankruptcy is put there for a reason. Yes, it can be abused, right, but in many cases it is there to help people get a fresh start, and it's not designed to try to beat somebody out of money. And then a lot of people think that's what it is. The government wouldn't, no, I gotta be careful about what I say, what the government would do or wouldn't do. I want to be careful about that. But generally speaking, folks, the government doesn't put programs in place to defraud somebody. No. They don't do that. If they did that, think about what Lyndon Johnson did in 1965 when he put the Old American Act in place, which provides for programs like Meals on Wheels,
right.
A shared cost program, helping people that have no way to clean their house. And not only do we have companies like Seniors Helping Seniors,
right? That's
one of our sponsors that is a for-profit business.
Sure.
That they can do these things at low cost. Aging Matters, on the other hand, has money, federal government money, to the tune of roughly $4 million a year that comes into them to provide services for people that qualify the way we're talking about. Generally speaking, if they have 3 or 4 problems of accomplishing the activities of daily living, as such as taking a shower or cleaning or fixing their meals or something. If you call Aging Matters, you can get help. But if you don't make the phone call, and that's another good number, folks, and that number is 639 639-8770, 639-8770. And if you have a problem, that's a good resource to call, because they can give you access to information
Right.
that can help you get a way to pay for something. And that's so important, because we don't want to turn that money away.
No.
It's much better to run Aging Matters out of money every year and not let them end up with money they have to turn back in.
Right. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think that's one of the reasons why we should put out a call on the air here today on 90.3 WEJF to businesses who do care about what happens with seniors. You can give us a call at 321-473-7770, 321-473-7770, because if you're a business that and if you are a business in Brevard County, by the way, you are dealing with seniors almost by definition, because 1 out of 2 people in our county meets the AARP definition of 50 plus, and 1 out of 4 people meets the 65 plus definition. So if you're in business in Brevard County, you are dealing with seniors. But there's lots of ways for you to get involved in helping seniors. We have sponsorship programs that get you involved in the television programs we do. We air 3 times a day on Space Coast Government TV, so that's available in every cable household throughout Brevard County. You can join us on the radio programs here on WEJF every weekday or every Wednesday, noon to 1. You participate in the information section that we put in our Helping Seniors newsletter every month in Senior Scene magazine. And it's really quite affordable, but it definitely makes a world of difference to what we can do with helping seniors. And there's even a directory program. Maybe your business is just getting off the ground. You can't do a whole lot, but there's still a way for you to participate.
Well, I want to tell you that I've had a number of don't go to sleep, Jim. I'm looking through the glass, folks, and one of the guys in there supposedly and listening to what we're talking about, he's leaning back in his chair. I thought he was going to fall out. I wanted to wake him up before he hit his head. And as old as he is, it'll splinter his head.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he can't talk to us. So I said, John, don't let him on. Okay. Yeah, don't let him on. Keep him quiet. Get back to what we were talking about. What were we talking about?
We were talking about it's time for businesses who are hearing this broadcast. This is a great opportunity. There's no time better to get involved in this, because, by the way, Helping Seniors makes an effort to be at all of the major senior events around the area. So we're always out there with the rack cards and things. So we're getting the senior information helpline out. We get information to people. We hand out copies of Senior Scene magazine, and in a typical event, we'll run into 800 to 1,200 seniors who are out there looking for information that's going to help them live better. So our sponsors get to be involved in all of that as well. And then, of course, one of the greatest reasons to get involved right now is because of all the attention that gets that's coming up with this Helping Seniors car raffle.
Yeah.
We had a lot of sponsors last year, and will again this year, who help provide the hors d'oeuvres and things at the event, and it's a great opportunity for them to be out in front of 1,500 people or whatever it is that ends up out there that night at the American Muscle Car Museum.
Well, we had 1,200 last year, and it's one of the largest crowds we've ever had.
Sure.
But another thing, whenever I get a caller, I always ask the caller, unless I forget, I always ask them, how did you find out about helping seniors?
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten these answers from the Space Coast Television Network,
Mm-hmm.
from Senior Scene magazine,
Mm-hmm.
from the radio show,
Sure.
from word of mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and from hometown news.
Absolutely.
And those are the prime sources of information, and I would fully expect them to, because Senior Scene, for those that you are thinking about advertising in Senior Scene, if you're not going to be one of our sponsors, if you want to advertise, just advertise in Senior Scene magazine.
Great publication.
Yes, they publish 12,000 of those magazines every month. They go to 500 distribution points in the county, and they're free.
Right.
And there is a world of good information in there. I know Truman Scarborough, who was a former county commissioner, has an elders law thing he puts in there. He's in there almost every month. And, of course, our law attorney, Bill Johnson, has a column, generally speaking, almost every month in our newsletter. But there's so much good information in Senior Scene magazine. It also contains the month-long schedule of the television broadcast on Helping
Space Coast.
Seniors TV network. It's on Space Coast Television, and it'll tell you all the shows that are on
Right.
it. Let's see, what is it? 8:30 in the morning, 4:30, and 5 p.m. in the
That's
afternoon.
right.
Monday
3
through
times a
Friday.
day.
Monday through Friday, we have a radio show at 90.3. Here at every Wednesday at noon, we have hometown news articles in there every other week. And I probably, if I wanted to, I would love to. If I could get more articles written, they'd probably publish more, because they are a true supporter of the work we do at Helping Seniors,
They
because
get it.
the staff and ownership of Hometown News is very, very supportive of senior causes.
Right.
So this all makes a difference, folks, and it's how we come to ask you to be part of a radio network and to help us build this 90.3 listening mass by you telling others. How else can they do it? Terry, you're an old radio guy. You finish the show out.
Well, give us a call at 321-473-7770, whether you're a business who wants to get involved as a sponsor, an individual who just wants to get car raffle tickets. That's a great way to support. Or if you just need help, that's what we're here to do. And we encourage you to get involved in the work of helping seniors. And you're helping not only, you're helping a quarter of the population in our county, if not half.
Hey, thank you, Kerry, for being on the show with me today, and I want to thank you, listeners, for listening to us. And please, please, those of you that do listen, tell others about this radio show. And if they say they don't have a radio, tell them to go out and sit in their car and listen to it from 12 to 1 every Wednesday, because almost every car has a radio, and there are few people that don't have a car. So thank you for listening to us today, and we'll be back again next week. You ready to wrap it up there, John? He's not even talking to me.
We're ready.
You ready? Go ahead and wrap it up.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye-bye. Thank you all for listening.